Today, we're talking about what we were going to talk about last week. Now we're talking about it this week. Raven crucifying the Sandman. The only night the original ECW had to apologize. Now, ECW, the original ECW, not the WWF ECW. The original ECW was known for going too far. It was known for going too far in its storylines, on its TV. Well, not its TNN TV, because TNN made them tone it down. But on ECW Hardcore TV, which was a syndicated show before it went to TNN, on shows, on everything, it was known for going too far. It was the original Attitude Era wrestling show, was ECW. WWF copied them, Vince Russo copied them. Everybody copied ECW because ECW did it first. It had everything. It was hardcore. It showed, it had women getting their tops ripped off. I mean, it had cussing, it had drinking. It had everything. It had people almost dying. It had everything. And it had a lot of stars who later became big stars. And a lot of people who later became nobodies. And a lot of people who couldn't actually wrestled in ECW because they could do a bunch of hardcore stuff, and they became names in ECW, like New Jack. God rest New Jack. I think he's dead. I hope he's dead, because he heard that he's going to come after me. But in 1995, there was a feud between Raven and the Sandman. And Raven formed Raven's Nest with him, Stevie Richards, and Blue Meanie. All of which would later go on to WWF and WCW. Well, Stevie Richards and Blue Meanie wouldn't go on to WWF, and later would go on to have careers in TNA. And Raven would go on to have a long career because he was Raven. He was a big star. But anyways, he formed Raven's Nest. And him and Sandman would trade the world title back and forth a little bit. Well, in 1995, him and Sandman were having this feud. And Sandman's estranged wife joined Raven's Nest. And even said she went down on Raven in the ring. To which Sandman replied, "Do it with her heels on. She enjoys that." Then Raven got Sandman's son, Tyler, to join Raven's Nest and turn on his father, blaming Sandman for a divorce between him and his mother. And Raven even threw him a birthday party, something Tyler claims Sandman never did. Now, come 1996. Now, 1996 is still a year away from when ECW held its first pay-per-view. Now, let me set this up for you. 1996, Kurt Angle. I'm talking about Kurt Angle here. We're going to get into why I'm talking about Kurt Angle, so don't tune me out. Kurt Angle is a few months away. He's a few months after winning his gold medal at the Atlanta Olympics. Shane Douglas talks to Kurt Angle because he knows him from a friend of a friend, and talks Kurt Angle into coming into ECW, coming to an ECW show, and maybe signing, convincing Kurt Angle it's more like amateur wrestling than pro wrestling. And boy, was Kurt Angle surprised. Convincing Kurt Angle they got someone like Taz, they got Taz, who's more like an Olympic-style athlete. I'd never seen that with Taz. Taz just liked suplexes, but whatever. And they even put on a match for Kurt Angle in Taz versus Little Guido, which was a shoot match. At this show, which main event was a scaffold match between Tommy Dreamer and Tommy Rich or somebody like that. It was not an Olympic-style match. It was definitely a pro wrestling match. Now, Sandman on this pay-per-view was defending his world title against Too Cold Scorpio. Well, Kurt Angle came and did commentary for the Taz versus Little Guido match and had an interaction with Taz, which really isn't important to this story. And then Sandman defended his title against Too Cold Scorpio, at which point his son came out afterwards and embraced him, even wearing an Enter the Sandman t-shirt. But after that, Raven came out and attacked Sandman, and then tied Sandman to a crucifix, even adorning his head with a crown of barbed wire, and him and Raven's Nest took Sandman out of the building. Now, Kurt Angle was furious, as you could imagine for a guy who knows nothing about pro wrestling at this point, saying he wanted nothing to do with the show, and if they shown him on the same show where they shown this crucifix angle, the crucifying angle, he would sue. People in the back were mad, but Sandman says that it was just Joey Styles, Taz, Tommy Dreamer, and I think he mentioned one other name. It was one of those other big Christian guys who were in ECW at the time. There were not a lot of them. Raven, who is Jewish, but is not a practicing Jew, saw no problem with this, says it had nothing to do with religion. It was not bashing religion. So does Sandman. Neither one said it was bashing religion. Both of them just said it was good TV. The ECW crowd was stunned. For once, they were silent when this happened, which Sandman and Raven saw as a good thing. Now, needless to say, when they got back to the back, no one saw this as a good thing. And Paul Heyman told Raven to go out and apologize. Sandman later said that he told Raven not to go out and apologize. Sandman said that he was proud of this angle, and he built the crucifix along with the scaffold of that night and was proud of the angle. Raven did go out and apologize, but it was a half-hearted apology, pretty much just to make Paul Heyman happy and to take the heat off, pretty much make it so he didn't get fired. So he later went to WCW, where he founded Raven's Flock and he never really became a big star in WCW. But he had a 20-plus year career, maybe even a 30-year career, and is known as a great wrestler. As I said, this was never shown on TV, but it was shown in the Rise and Fall of ECW DVD that the WWF put out years later, after they acquired ECW. You can watch a clip of it on YouTube. You can watch lots of clips of it on YouTube with commentary. I personally don't blame it for the fall of ECW. We got happened in 96, a year before their first pay-per-view. Their first pay-per-view was in 97. The main reason for the fall of ECW was they lost TV rights. There were millions of dollars in debt. Weren't paying their wrestlers necessarily. And they just couldn't compete at that point. They lost TV rights. People weren't buying their pay-per-views necessarily. ECW was never profitable. So I don't blame it for the fall of ECW.